Today on the 1012 podcast, myself, Scott McFarland, and Joe Goodman are here for episode 600 of the 1012 podcast. We will be joined by some surprise guests along the way to discuss a wide range of topics, including Memphis' attempt to join the Big 12, trying to figure out how to pick Big 12 teams, and of course, a little bit of fall ball, what we'd like to see as fall ball gets underway. We recorded this on Saturday, so didn't get to have anything included here on Deion Sanders, Colorado head coach's press conference that came in on Monday. Learned that he had his bladder removed in May after doctors found a very aggressive cancerous tumor, but that he is cured, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible that they were able to solve that problem for him. Now, cure doesn't ever mean that it's never going to come back, never problem. Cancer is something that never really fully, completely goes away for some, but also to have your bladder removed. Oof. But you know what? Shout out to Deion, to Coach Sanders. Absolutely incredible news for him, for Colorado football. Glad to hear that things are on the up and up for him as we prepare to enter the season. I'm sure he's excited to get back on the sideline with his team. One other note, there was one person who was not able to join us to record this episode that I tried to get. Our good friend Ari Temkin of Big 12 Radio was celebrating his 40th birthday. Happy birthday, Ari. But he was kind enough to leave us a very generous message about our 600th episode. So before we get going, I'm going to play that for you. So without further ado, let's get to it.
Phillip Slavin, let's go. 600 episodes. Congratulations, Phil, from your buddy Ari Temkin for Big 12 Radio. I feel like I've known you and the 1012 podcast since the start. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've been around for the entirety of all 600 episodes. Look, I just wanted to congratulate you, Phillip, and of course the entire team and all of the great podcasts, a part of the 1012 podcast network. You know, we know with the Big 12, we don't get as much love on the national landscape, so we got to do whatever we can do to rep our schools because we're just as important to the fabric of college sports as anybody else. I'm bummed I couldn't be with you guys today, but I just wanted you to know that you have done incredible work together to build an insane community. And look, the Big 12 and the member schools are better off for it. So once again, congratulations, 600 episodes, an incredible accomplishment. Cheers to your next 600 episodes and everything that comes beyond that. Congratulations to the 1012 Podcast Network. And I picked Baylor to win the Big 12 this year. So roast me.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino Ciao, a new kind of flavored sparkling water. The kind made with real fruit juice, a pinch of Sicilian salt, and the sparkle of the Italian sun. With no added sugar and just 10 or less calories per can, enjoy. With love, from Italy. By San Pellegrino Ciao now.
Welcome to the 1012, the podcast that covers all 16 teams in the Big 12 Conference. We're the flagship show of the 1012 Network. Find every show on the network at 1012network.com, assuming the website still works. And, of course, we are partners with Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. I'm your host, Phillip Slavin. Thank you for joining us. Don't worry, it's not just me. It is us. For episode 600 of the podcast. I was ready. It's time to get behind the mic. I'm not all in. We're not all in on weekly episodes for the just yet. But the wife is in Tampa. The kids are in bed. And I thought, recording on a Saturday night, yeah, I could do that. I could go ahead and do this. There's quite a few things I'd like to just go ahead and, wet my whistle and kind of get the juices flowing back in to talk about. I said we, because for episode 600, I cannot just sit here and talk by myself. I don't think anybody's going to be excited about that. That seems like underselling it. So joining us today, he is one half of the Bear Den Pod. One of my favorite people to have on the show. He is Joe Goodman.
Scott,
what's going on?
And Phillip, how are you guys doing? I just ruined your intro there, Scott, because I just saw you pop in.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. I'm pumped, man.
Yeah, but Phillip, thanks for having me on, man. It's been a wild summer for me too. I haven't recorded in I think like 6 weeks, something like that. Whatever the last time we did the Bear Den. So yeah, I needed to shake off the rust a little bit. So I'm pretty excited. Understand.
Again, same here. It felt like it was a good time to at least, kind of hop back in, get episode 600 out of the way. And thrilled to have you as you have heard already. If you've listened to this show before, you know that voice. If not, allow me to introduce the best Kansas State podcast host that there is. My good friend, more than just friend of the pod, Scott McFarland. The Boscoe's boys. Scott, welcome back, man.
I'm pumped. I've been looking forward to this ever since you sent me a text message. Unlike you guys, I have a real addiction and I feed it by recording podcasts. I recorded a couple today at Manhattan Brewing Company, not a sponsor of your show, but shout out to Manhattan Brewing Company, sponsor of mine. I'm drinking some raspberry wheat that I picked up straight from the brewery today. So this is podcast number 3 for me. And while one of my all-time favorite episodes I record every year is my Blitz Month episode with my friend Jimmy Goheen, I've been looking forward to this one all day as well. So thanks for having me on, and I'm pumped. I think this is the first time I'm on a show with Joe, but I'm a big fan of yours. And, I think everyone should have a podcasting addiction for my own selfish needs. I want to be listening to all my favorite shows throughout the summer. So, Joe, if you could get on,
you're not just doing them when you're not doing them, you're listening.
Brother,
to them.
When I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, I'm listening to podcasts on 2x speed from basically 4:30 in the morning until I'm done with the secret day job at around 5:36. So I'm
2X.
This is the worst version of a hustle culture podcast right now.
2X.
And again, that's I'm consuming close to 24 hours of podcasts a day. And like if I find like a history podcast that I like, so I will download, hours upon hours of back catalog stuff and listen to it. Like I am addicted to podcasts. It's so stupid, but it's better than drugs. So,
I finally made the switch to like 1.2 speed, and I'm like, I can tell, and so I can't do more. I can't do more of that. All right, we've got a schedule to keep here, so we're gonna get off and rolling because what is this? What is this? Do we have a surprise guest joining us here for episode 600? No, how did this happen? We're very excited to be joined for our very first topic of the show by the Frog Preacher himself, Jamie Plunkett of the Frog Insider podcast, co-hosted by fellow friend of the podcast, Melissa Treebwasser. Jamie, how's it going, man?
It's going great, boys. My camera's not working. I don't think my microphone's working, but if you can hear me, hello, and it is a pleasure to be here on episode 600.
We can hear you. Yeah.
Then that's all you need. You don't need to see my face. It's a face for radio.
Phillip, you're making me sit with all the purple people.
There's a few. There's a couple.
It's good for you, Joe. It's like eating your vegetables.
Which is funny to say that to a fan of a school whose color is green. Let's get this thing kicked off with a color that we do not have a lot of in the conference, that being Memphis blue. As we know, at this point, Memphis has tried to pull an SMU in an attempt to sway the Big 12 for an infight. Memphis drafted a proposal to join the conference, included providing the conference with about $250 million in sponsorships and not taking any revenue distribution money for at least 5 years. According to the report from The Athletic, Memphis' proposal included about $200 million in sponsorship deals with FedEx, Lowe's, and AutoZone over a 5-year period. FedEx has long been a supporter of Memphis and is currently committing about $25 million over 5 years in name, image, and likeness support. And the CEO of Lowe's is apparently a Memphis graduate and is on the school's board, which also includes FedEx executive vice president Rob Carter. So the proposal would also include a clause, this one was really interesting to me, allowing the Big 12 to kick the Tigers out of the conference before the next TV deal is done if it's determined that Memphis was not bringing enough value. Look, everyone's got different opinions on this, and it's an interesting topic. I'll share mine. Jamie, you chose this one when I presented this option to you. So why don't you hop in here first? What were your thoughts on Memphis is trying to join the Big 12, and more importantly, the way in which they have tried to do it?
So first and foremost, it makes sense that they're trying to do this, right? It's every school that's not currently on the inside looking out is trying to find a way to get in. And we saw this with SMU a couple years ago. Obviously, they're foregoing any ACC money for 7 seasons outside of bowl payouts and those kinds of things, which they're still getting a piece of. And it makes sense on the surface, because if you don't feel like your situation is as secure as it needs to be in whatever the next iteration of college football is, you're going to need to do whatever you can do to try and make yourself more secure. And from Memphis's standpoint, they have the funding, at the very least, to try and make offers that seem outlandish or outrageous to at least position themselves a little bit better for the future. And frankly, Memphis is one of the few G5 schools left that has the funding and the ability to do something like this. So on the surface, it makes sense. From the Big 12's perspective, I think it makes sense to reject them, because yes, they're foregoing conference payouts for 5 years, which would be roughly, missing out on about $175 million if you're just taking the league average. Who knows if they would be a full recipient, like get a full share right away, all that kind of stuff. And the $200 million in sponsorships and incentives sounds great. Whether that goes to the league or goes to different schools, we don't really know a ton of what that would look like. But if it was going to individual schools, it would be about $2.5 million per year per school. So it's not an overwhelming amount of money that you're giving to an institution. Granted, based on reports earlier this week, Iowa State could probably use the help because it looks like they're staring down the face of a pretty large impending deficit over the next 5 or 6 years. That sucks because I really like Iowa State. Hope they figure that out. But it doesn't make sense from the Big 12's perspective to add a 17th member right now, especially one in football that has been doing well, but it feels like every 3 or 4 years is facing some sort of allegation or some sort of NCAA handed down punishment. Same goes for basketball. We just saw they're on 2 years of probation now in basketball. Do you really want a school in your conference that's constantly embattled, constantly fighting the NCAA? I don't think so. And if Memphis was any closer in proximity to Oklahoma State, Lord knows what would happen to the Cowboys by NCAA standards. They'd probably just get all of their sports would just have the death penalty at that point. So, I have family that lives in Memphis. They're going to listen to this episode and be really pissed at me. But I think the Big 12 made the right decision. And I also don't blame Memphis for trying to do whatever the hell they can do to better their situation. I think ultimately, they're kind of stuck where they are right now. The ACC is in limbo. The Big 12 seems pretty locked up right now. And I just don't get the sense that Memphis really wants to go to the Pac-12 for football or to the Big East for basketball. So it seems like the American's really their only option right now.
Which leads me to
I feel like
the next point.
You quite literally just stole my notes.
I'm so sorry, Joe.
I'm just sitting here. I'm like, these are amazing points.
Gosh, have a horned frog and a bear ever been more in lockstep than we are right now?
I don't think so. I don't think that's possible.
Okay.
I look, selfishly, I live 2 hours from Memphis, so I would love to have a Big 12 school located that close to my home. But I don't necessarily disagree that it doesn't make sense for the Big 12 right now. You have added 8 new schools over the last 2 years and are still trying to figure all of them out. Adding another school, essentially another school on, and the other former American schools are going to hate me saying this, another school on par with Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF given those three schools are still trying to get acclimated. And I can make a valid argument that the only thing worthwhile they've added of those three so far, aside from just TV markets, is Houston men's basketball. That I don't know that adding Memphis, again, you mentioned all of the problems they're having with NCAA. Now they've got softball, who's going to go through suspension because of issues there as well, and that program's terrible. Don't you love when a team that sucks also has NCAA? Like, what was the point, y'all? Why cheat if you're not going to win?
It's like TCU football in the 80s.
So I think most people agree with this take that the Big 12 has made the right decision. I am curious, though, from each one of you. And Scott, I'm going to let you go first because you've been quiet for a while, and I know you hate doing that. What would Memphis have to do or offer for you to say, come on down, you're the next team in the Big 12 conference?
Yeah, I'm trying this whole new self-control thing. I'm trying not to interject. I have a mute button on my mic to just be like, all right, let others talk. I don't know if there's anything Memphis could realistically do, right? If you want to talk about anything they could have done to make them attractive to me in 2025 to add to the Big 12, they would have had to do a lot of stuff in the buildup to this. First and foremost, I'm not turning my nose up at $2.5 million a year. K-State is moving a home game with a rival, Iowa State, for from what I've been told, $3.2 million above what the home gate is going to be. So TCU's moving a game versus Bill Belichick over to Ireland also for that same dollar amount. So again, $2.5 million in this current landscape. It's not nothing, but it's not enough to take on a program that is riddled in scandal year in, year out. Congrats on cobbling together a half-ass Liberty Bowl renovation plan. But again, they've been trying to do stuff with that stadium for years. They've had corporate sponsors. They've had the city kind of kick in. But I think Memphis donors themselves only were able to cobble together $12 million outside of what FedEx was willing to put in there and Liberty's and all these corporate partners. They're playing in a half-full NBA arena. They just don't fit. They're not good enough in men's basketball or football to demand any sort of hey, we need to get them in. They're going to increase our profile because they're just not. I don't think there is anything that could realistically be done to add them this year. Now, if you want to say unrealistic, if they want to say, hey, we're going to give every single Big 12 school a $10 million check every single year, cool. Yeah, all right, come on over. If you want to show me the formula in which we can tell you, no, we don't want you when the next TV deal comes around, okay, but come on. We all know the lawyers are going to come up with some sort of language to make the formula to show you're not adding anything to the conference impossible to prove. I think this was more PR by Memphis. I know it was leaked out by the Big 12, or at least that's what folks at Memphis are saying. It was leaked out by the Big 12. But I think this really was kind of a cosmetic thing. I don't think this is serious at all. And I think the only reason it even saw the light of day is because conference realignment is truly moths to a light. Everyone has to be talking about it. I mean, the UNC to to the SEC thing, that was an absolute nothing article by On3. They're just saying, it'd be easy for a team to lead the ACC in 2030. And everyone was talking about it for 2 days straight. So I don't think this was a realistic proposal by Memphis. I think they were trying everything they could. But there's no realistic scenario in which I would ever be okay with Memphis joining. They missed their chance. If they wanted to try this, their opportunity was, 5 years ago to try to buy your way in and say, we don't want any money ever. They missed their shot, and I don't see any world where I would want them in the Big 12.
I'll give you one scenario.
I can't wait for this.
Okay, this is out there, and this is wild, but that's where I live. You take your $200 million, and you don't give it to the Big 12. You take it to Clemson, and you bring them with you.
See, I don't, and again, this is why
I know Clemson would never do it, but that would be your only way.
If you gave Clemson $200 million, if it's in your scenario, they might.
You're paying off here. You can get out of the ACC now.
They might, but even then,
this is your buyout.
Do you want as a Big 12 fan? And this was my thought process when the pack was crumbling. They're like, well, Oregon and Washington, they're still kind of out there. There's that talk of, could they be coming to the Big 12? I don't know if I truly want anyone who they're just be biding their time and hoping for another conference.
And that's
I know
fair,
Utah
but
and
I'm just
even
from
KU
just a
fans,
Big
they're
12
thinking to
standpoint.
themselves, eventually the Big Ten's going to really want us, guys. I think bringing Clemson in, even in that scenario, and to your point, that is, I'm semi-realistic. If if we're trying to make $200 million like magically appear, that's more realistic than anything I could come up with to make me want Memphis. So I'd at least consider it in that situation.
I don't think I would. I don't think I would at all, because I think one of the strengths of the Big 12 right now is that you don't have any brands that are in demand right now. And that seems like it's a negative thing. But in reality, what's the biggest challenge that the ACC is facing right now? It's that those major brands are looking for a way out, and it's creating so much destabilization across the conference. The Big 12 seems unified. The Big 12 seems like it's got its stuff together in comparison to the ACC. And if you bring in a brand that's only going to want to look for the next big thing 4 or 5 years down the road and create chaos for yourselves, I don't think that invitation would be worth it at that point.
And that's fair. But the advantage of maybe bringing a Clemson over it's the possible inevitable annihilation of the ACC a little bit faster. So there's some pettiness.
This is true, and as an always hater of SMU, I could not wish for something like that to happen. And we'd also get the benefit of the possibility of a Dave Aranda, Dabo Swinney press conference.
A press
duel.
conference off? Yeah, we don't even play a game. We just have them answer questions.
Oh, I would mark that on my calendar and sell tickets to that. That's what I do. Just put that in the stadium.
It'll be just you know what, Scott, it'll be a new podcast for you to listen to. It'll be called Your Two Youth Pastors.
Well, I'll tell you this. When I saw the very cringy Wolf of Wall Street
by Jamie Plunkett.
Sign me up. I'm just gonna read a scripture and let them ride for like 50 minutes.
Oh man. I'm
going to read you a line. Is this something a football coach said or something Jesus said? And you can debate.
Which version is better? NRSV, NIV, King James. Go.
Aranda's answer. I appreciate the question, but we really
have you ever seen Wolf of Wall Street?
When I saw that on Twitter, I'm not kidding. I told the person who sent me to that, I said that's AI. And then I saw Shahan say he was in the room. And I was just like, well, shoot.
Right.
What is going on? I mean, it's funny when Mike Leach, the story about Mike Leach comes out. Dave Aranda trying to do Wolf of Wall Street and that specific scene he was talking about. That was just, if anyone had that on their bingo card, let me see it and I'll send you a case of beer. Like, oh my gosh.
I am now fully convinced that he went to the Phil Jackson school of do DMT in the off season to come up with blitz packages or something like.
All right. This has been fun. Jamie, again, appreciate you hopping in. Pleasure to have you on the show as always. And we'll get you back on again before the season comes to an end. So thank you, man. And tell your family that we're really sorry for all the anti-Memphis talk here.
It's all right. They'll survive. Thanks for having me on. Congratulations on episode 600. That's a huge accomplishment. You guys have done a great job for a really long time.
Thanks, Jamie.
Bye.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
All right, we are moving on to our next topic. And what is this? What a surprise! Another surprise guest joining the show. That's 2 now, man. First we get the Frog Preacher himself. Now we get from the Athletic, Mr. Texas football himself, Sam Kahn Jr. Sam, welcome back to the 10-12, sir.
Hi, how's it going, fellas?
We're doing well. It's a pleasure to have you. It's so nice of you to just pop in here on a Saturday night while we happen to be recording a podcast about the Big 12. And since you're here, I think you're perfect for this next topic we're going to talk about. Fall ball is getting underway, folks. We're that close to the start of the season, and I cannot wait. So I had an idea for a question. And Sam, since you've joined us, I'm going to let you answer it first. If you could pick one Big 12 team, now not your own, which I think applies more to me, Joe, and Scott than it does to Sam here, that you could get unlimited access to for all of fall ball, which school would it be and why?
So I'm not going to go with the two most obvious answers here. The two most obvious answers, in my opinion, are Texas Tech because of their offseason, or Colorado because of Deion Sanders and all the publicity that goes around that.
Well, if you followed Colorado, would Deion even be there?
That's a good question. He's been in and out this offseason, or maybe not even in and out, just out for the most part. But for a couple of reasons. One, Colorado, I feel like, does already give us a lot of access because thanks to the well-off media YouTube channel that Deion's son runs, we see a lot of stuff already. And Texas Tech, if you ask Joey McGuire to come hang out at practice, he'll let you. You know, I mean, I spent a lot of time in Lubbock earlier this summer, so I don't feel like I missed too much. I'll tell you, though, the one school I would take that up on is the reigning Big 12 champions, Arizona State. They are fascinating to me because obviously they went from worst to first last year, but they bring so much back. And I really do like that coaching staff. I think Kenny Dillingham has a ton of energy. He seems like a lot of fun. I actually just saw them down here in the state of Texas. The entire staff was down here in San Antonio for the Texas High School Coaches Association convention recently. So they are a fun group to be around. And I think they're very confident. And to me, there's so much hype around other teams in this league going into this year that I think we almost forget that this is the reigning Big 12 champ and that they are still a really good team. They may not have Cam Scadaboo, but they still have a lot of talent.
I love that answer. I don't want to. I think we've had enough Big 12 title games since it returned that I don't want to. I'm not picking anyone to repeat until someone does, just because of the way this conference works. But I think Arizona State would be a really interesting one, especially all the Sam Leavitt talk, because he's kind of, it's now his, right? Scadaboo's gone, and so it's Sam Leavitt's team, and how far can he take them this year? Because obviously he kind of came out of nowhere last year as their starter and really impressed as the year went on, and now it's all about him. We're getting stories about how his advertising deals, he's donating all the money from his NIL and advertising deals to teammates. He's been very vocal, and I think it's awesome. It's great. It's great to see his personality, but I think that's a great one, Sam. I do. Okay, Joe, same question to you, sir. You can't pick Baylor.
Once again, my notes have been stolen, but it's just because Sam's a genius as well as I am. But I did have a backup. No, I had Arizona State was my number one, and it was very similar to what he was saying, but my thoughts are generally around like, what's the vibe look like? Because it's one thing to go from being picked last and winning it all, and you're the underdog, and as a coach, it's easy to build that culture with the everybody's against us, nobody believes in us thing, and you've got a workhorse like Scadaboo. But now that you've been there, you're the big dog, you're the front runner, what does that look like in camp? Completely flip that on its head, and that's who I'll pick now, and that's Oklahoma State. Because I want to see what does Mike Gundy look like now that for the first time ever we don't know who they are. Like, what's their culture now? They were always that team that even if they weren't great, they were always going to be good no matter what, and they're just not good. So how does Gundy coach through that now? What is the feeling like in that locker room? And kind of get a vibe for what do I think that they're going to be this year? Because I think they're one of those toss-up teams where can Gundy be bad 2 years in a row? Is that possible? We'll see.
Well, he had to fire his entire staff. And even look, I wasn't, as an Oklahoma State fan, I wasn't super high on a lot of the guys on staff, but there were still a few who were like, surely he'll keep, nobody, with the exception of a few graduate assistants. As far as on-field coaches, everyone's gone, everyone's new. And for
is
a
Sean
place
Snyder
where
still
they
there?
sell cowboy culture, probably not. I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean,
no one's mentioned his name in a while.
he needs to
who knows?
land somewhere else in the Big 8. He's doing his little Big 8 tour, so he needs to go to like Nebraska or Missouri or something like that.
But Oklahoma State's an interesting one this year because it's just like I can't imagine another bad year he's gone unless they just go like 3-9 again. But it's an interesting situation in Stillwater, and we talk about this all the time. When you play I fired everyone and I brought in new coaches card, typically if you don't find success, you're gone after that year. But this is Mike Gundy we're talking about, so it'll be an interesting situation to keep an eye on. Certainly, Scott, you can't talk about Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean Texas Tech is the obvious one, right? And look, you're being very loud and proud about how much you spent on your team. And at the same time, when you look at whatever your preferred returning production metric, and I have my own problems with all those metrics, but they're usually in the top 30, top 25, depending on, which metric you want to use. Yet all of those guys, well, not all of them, but a lot of those guys are being displaced by folks who are coming into that program. So when you take a lot of money, when you take a lot of faces, and you have some folks who were there last year and then getting moved down a spot on the depth chart, that creates a very interesting dynamic. I hate to say this, but as a K-State basketball fan, I saw exactly what could happen to a mercenary program when things don't go your way. It turns south very fast. Coleman Hawkins talked about all offseason. He would cry about it. Oh, man, I make all this money, so people are mean to me on the internet. What's going to happen if Texas Tech gets upset early in the season? We all know how toxic, fan culture is from inside and outside your own fan base. But what's going to happen if they get upset early? What's going to happen if one loss turns into two, and then all of a sudden you have a lot of guys who may or may not be there for the double T, but for, the paycheck? What happens? So I imagine in fall camp, everything's going to be all hunky dory. But so I really, if you change this to who do I want to be around during the season, it's Texas Tech. It's either going to be the best party in all of college football, or it's going to turn south real quick. I don't know if there's going to be a true in-between, except for I really like their schedule. So I think that they might be in a situation where even if things aren't looking as rosy, they might have a decent record. If you want to talk just fall camp, I might actually go – I'm going to go completely out of left field. I'm going down the road to Lawrence, Kansas. Lance Leipold, media darling, right? Throw out 2020 at Buffalo. How many winning seasons does he have in Division I football? Not as many as you think. He has one at KU and he had two at Buffalo. I think that not a lot of talk is being talked about how this should be a legacy-defining year for Jalen Daniels. I think that a lot of the shine comes off Lance Leipold if they don't get to a bowl game this year. And they changed out their receivers. They're bringing back Daniel Highshaw, but they just lost their best running back maybe in program history, losing guys on the trenches on both sides, and losing their best defensive backs on a defense that was okay but not great, and they're changing out coordinators as well. Again, and it's probably coming from my K-State lens, but I do think some of this shine needs to, be looked at Lance Leipold if he can't get them back to a bowl game. You don't get to blame playing your games in Kansas City anymore. Jalen Daniels played in all 12 games last year. I think it is time for KU to get back to a bowl game, or we maybe need to start talking about, does Lance Leipold really belong in these top 15 of all college football coaches? What's Jalen Daniels' real legacy at KU if he can't get them back to a bowl game? So that's, and again, it's probably being molded by living here in Kansas and looking down the road. But I do think that this is really a season that needs to maybe be put under a microscope a little bit more, especially if they don't get back to a bowl game. They should. I think they're going to go 7-5. I think they might even beat Missouri with that rivalry coming back. But if they don't, I think it's time to really start taking a second look at the Lance Leipold and the narrative that's being spun about him out in the media.
Don't call it a rivalry.
Interesting. Didn't anticipate Lance Leipold questioning on this one, but that's that is interesting though, because the Jeff Grimes hire last year you thought was going to really work out well. It did not, but they did get hot at the end of the season. So they're one of the teams that are, to me, is sneaky interesting because of they started so badly, but they were one of the hottest teams in the conference, maybe in the country, at the end of last year.
But
so
look at those playmakers outside of
see which
Jalen
way that one
Daniels.
goes, and I think a lot of it does.
Yeah, I mean, Devin Neal.
I think a lot of it does hinge on Jalen's performance.
Yeah, Devin Neal's in the NFL. Kobe Bryant is spending his undrafted free agent paycheck a little too quick. Melo Dotson's in a like. You have all these big name players for KU. There's only one guy left, and he's been there since Les Miles was there. So again, I don't think Lance Leipold should be on the hot seat or everything, but you see every single year, oh, Lance Leipold, top 25 coach. Lance Leipold, is he the best coach in the Big 12? Get back to a bowl game. Let's have a winning season. Jalen Daniels, you want to cement your legacy as this guy, or are you going to be thought of as just, hey, a lot of what ifs? So again, I live here in Kansas. I hear all this type of stuff. Also, I'd love to see what's going on with Rich Rod. I'll just throw that out there. I want a reality show following this guy around for the next 4 years until he either, crushes West Virginia fans' hearts again, or he's getting fired in scandal. I don't think there's a happy ending there. So,
I love that you said West Virginia. That one was on my list. I'm going to go a different direction just because there is a situation that is really interesting to me in Utah.
Oh, I like that answer.
Likely Kyle Whittingham's. It's Kyle Whittingham's last season. Let's just say it. I know it hasn't been official, but I've seen it. Like, it's his last season at Utah. He's trying to get things back on track so that his longtime friend and defensive coordinator, aka coach in waiting, can take over. You change offensive coordinators. You bring in Jason Beck, who did a great job at New Mexico. He brings his quarterback, Devin Dampier. And if you go look at Vegas numbers right now, all the talk is Arizona State and Kansas State. At one point last week, depending on the book you go look at, if you go look at BetMGM, Utah is like a co-favorite with Kansas State to win the Big 12 at like plus 550. Like, it is the most as loud as Utah was last year and off season, and the fans were, and then they got smacked around last year and everyone went a little quiet. And yet Vegas seems to love Utah. And I get it with the defense. Like, I'm not going to argue against Utah's defense. We're not. It is really good. It's consistently good. The defensive coordinator is still there. But you've got one of the three longest tenured currently head coaches in the country in his last season, setting it up for his buddy, new OC, new quarterback coming in, year 2 in the Big 12. Vegas is finding this interesting. And that it is so quiet. It is a whisper. Like all these other Big 12 teams we could talk about, West Virginia, UCF, Texas Tech. And then there's Utah, which just feels so weird after all the Utah talk we've had to have ever since it was announced the corner 4, we started talking about corner 4 and coming to the Big 12 and Utah. It's just been quiet. I want to go run around there even for a day and just like, what's going on here? What's the vibes? What does this look like? Do we all think this is going to really work? Or is Whittingham going to have to come back no, I got to come back one more year. I got to make sure it's set up right. Still not good. Still not working. I mean, I'm glad they're finally not relying on a quarterback who, is going to have to weaken at Bernie's the thing for another straight season. But sorry for you youths. It's a very old reference, but look it up. But I just like Utah is so interesting to me this season.
Well,
no,
I'm with you 100% on both of those. Yeah. West Virginia and Utah would have both been on my list. West Virginia because, I mean, who doesn't want to spend a training camp with Rich Rod? Because that's maybe the most interesting coach in the bunch here. No apologies to Dion. Rich Rod is a lot of fun, but Utah may have the least interesting head coach in Whittingham, but maybe the most interesting situation. And I will just say for the record, I am a huge Devin Dampier fan. He is so slippery. He's a lot of fun. It can be chaotic if you go watch some of the games from last year, because he can make some plays that'll make you, that'll thrill you as a fan, and he may make some throws that'll make you mad and upset because he's going to take some chances. But I think he's going to be electric for that offense.
Are they?
He can't get any worse.
Had a conversation with our good friend Parker Fleming. It's
yeah,
like,
you can.
Are they going to let him?
I'm just saying.
Are they going to let him be as chaotic as he was at New Mexico? Like it's so hard to look at Utah and be like, yeah, we're going to let a quarterback be that much. Just kind of like, here you go. Whatever.
They're going to go. They have to give Whittingham blinders when the offense is out there. That's it.
That's a great point. I brought that up during my Utah Blitz Month episode, And what it was said to me is, hey, look, this offensive coordinator hire was not necessarily made, looking at just this year. The head coach in waiting, allegedly, at least from the Utah podcast I talked to, he was the one calling the shots on this. So if you are calling the shots looking forward beyond just this year, and the OC is bringing that quarterback with you, I mean, look, I know who's still sitting in the chair, but I'm not sure. You talk about Weekend and Bernie's. It might be a Weekend and Bernie situation up in Salt Lake City, and the transition's already happened. They just didn't want that final record to be a losing record.
Yeah, that's the other part of it is like who's how much of this season is going to be Whittingham? How much of it is Morgan Scaley? What is it? I just think Utah is so interesting this year. I'm so much more interested in them this year than last.
Have the film room running like old Woody Hayes offenses, and you just put Kyle in there while the rest of the team goes as much as the new offensive film room.
No, it's gonna be the old videos of Gundy when the defense was on the field and he was just on the bench not watching it. That's what they're gonna do with Kyle. But it's when the offense is on the field, like, all right, coach, sit down, just look at the fans, check your phone, pull out a tablet, watch them, catch up on Suits episodes, whatever you got to do here, man. Just don't look.
Give him some virtual reality glasses, and he can see what Utah's offense used to look like, and that'll be replaying, and he'll make him think that's the current offense rather than the bag of tricks that Devin Dampier is going to give you.
The thought of Kyle Whittingham with like meta AR glasses and just him guys, I swear to God.
Just wait until the defense comes back on the field. You can take them off when the defense is on the field.
Well, you just don't tell him what they are, and then he just does he admit that he's hallucinating or not? Like that's the.
Makes for interesting post-game press conferences when you ask about the offense.
Here's a question: Does he deliver all 12 post-game press conferences this year? Over under 11.5 regular season post-game press conferences for Whittingham.
He does them all.
In his last year, he'll do them all. Yeah,
he'll do them all.
Yeah. You're not gonna. They won't give away anything as far as what the situation is behind the scenes. He's still going to be the guy.
I'll bet you 12 beers from Manhattan Brewing Company that it is already announced that his final home game is going to be the K-State Utah game.
You can just send us that.
No, I want you to then drive up to Kansas and then buy me beers. In case I'm wrong.
Off air. Sam, as always, man, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, as always. Love your thoughts on this, and can't wait to continue to follow your work over there at The Athletic. You do great work, man.
Thanks so much, guys. Y'all have a good one.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
All right. For our next topic, what? No, we can't do this a third time in a row, right? There's no way we could have a third surprise guest pop in here with Scott and Joe and myself. There's no way. No, I can't. Who let the link to this out? Who just sent this out? All right. I'm glad that she is here. You know who she is, but of course every podcast is someone's first. How could we do a 600th episode without the 1012 vibe queen herself? JSJ, Jamie Steyer Johnson, joining us. Jamie, friend, it's been so long. How are you?
It's been a long time. Yeah, this is kind of crazy. But this past week was episode 50 of this iteration of the Her Hoop Stats podcast, which is, where I've been keeping myself busy. And we got that sprung on us, surprise, by our producer. And then I get hit up by you for episode 600 of the 1012. And I'm like, well, damn, this is great. We're just going to keep it running. So it's good to be here. I I have certainly missed you, but there hasn't been much time to miss anyone or think about anything, considering we've been prepping our house to sell so I could move to Ames and go back to school and teach at Iowa State and do all those fun things. But hey, you know, we're out here. My brain cells are coming back together a little bit at a time.
Jamie decided she didn't have enough jobs at Iowa State. That she just at this point wants to do all. Next thing is she's going to be the next athletic director, along with still calling women's basketball games and being a teacher and who knows what else. Jamie, I'm glad you're here. It seems almost kismet that you would be joining us, the Vibe Queen, to talk about something I think is a little vibey in a way. Kansas's new football stadium is continuing to get finished, hopefully in time for the season, and they unveiled something that stirred up a lot of fans of various teams when they showed the new Endzones at David Booth Memorial Stadium, featuring a Wave the Wheat design, incorporating a wheat field graphic into the background of the end zones. I think it looks pretty cool. They've added the name Kansas over them. I think it's fun. I like new things. New things are good. But it got me to wondering, Jamie, if Iowa State was to add some sort of cool new graphic design into their football end zones, what should it be?
See, first of all, when you first sent me my topics I could choose to speak on, I was very relieved that there was something that was not strictly football game related. So
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate you knowing me that well. But I also am outing myself as not following Kansas football on social media. Shocking, I know. So when I first heard about this, I was imagining what this was going to be. And at first I thought maybe they had actually grown wheat right behind their end zone, which would have been really cool. But, not everyone has a turf program like Iowa State that could probably pull that off. So then I also thought maybe it was like a graphic behind the end zone, like standing up, and that wasn't it either. So I have now seen it. I did find it eventually, but I liked to let my own imagination run wild first. And so in that vein, I will give you the style of what they actually did, and then I'm going to give you my dream of what I wish was possible based on what I think would have been even cooler for Kansas. So I think that Iowa State, first of all, the first instinct that I had, and I think many people would have, my husband also had, said, well, I mean, if you're doing something like that for Iowa State, you just do corn, right? And yeah, that's valid. I do think there's something to be said for the fact that, if you were going to draw like a really simple clip art style ear of corn, how you would probably use like yellow for the kernels, but you'd use black in between to define the kernels. If you did that with red, it'd be kind of cool. It just kind of looked like a bunch of little cells in the end zone. But if you use your imagination. Now, I don't really like those ideas that much because my idea I think is better. So I want so much like having actual wheat growing behind the end zone would be the sickest thing you've ever seen. Walk with me here. So you could have corn growing behind the end zone, but in the middle of the corn, you have one of those booths, okay? And in this booth, you have one of those like tornado in a jar type things, but it's like full size. And so you can set that off to have a tornado. Alternatively, it's not one of those tornado in a jar things. It's one of those money funnel things, and it's a cyclone, and people get to go in there when you score a touchdown.
That is the greatest NIL deal. Real time NIL.
Just out of curiosity, what is it inside the tornado thing that's spinning, and is it actually ears of corn?
No, it's cash.
We're
doing real money.
Yeah,
well, Jamie,
so like,
I'm kind of disappointed.
If you're not doing the money one, then you would just have like dirt, so that you could really get the like gray, like twister element to it, and like maybe a couple little plastic cows.
I'm disappointed though, because corn is it's you're right. It's like forefront of the brain. It's the first thing. It's Iowa, right? Corn versus wheat, even like it even matches up with the anti to what Kansas has done here. But the right answer for what Iowa State should put in their end zone is a bridge directly from stand to stand. It blocks you have to get over it to make a field goal now as well, but it's the bridge goes in the end zone.
I feel like you don't want to diminish the impact of the bridge.
Well, no, you move the bridge. It's the bridge.
Oh, wow. Well, that's certainly an idea.
I mean,
I don't
make
think
more
the
sense.
scale is necessarily there.
Yeah,
we can make it work.
You know, look, Iowa State's going to need money. Wouldn't it make more sense to just get a sponsorship deal with Natty Light and have the Natty Light pattern in there underneath?
Oh, that would be
Cyclones?
Would be very Iowa
So you've
State,
got you've got like inlaid graphic of like cans in like 2 shades of red. And then over the top of it,
it's going to be really funny to have the Natty Light sponsorship on the field when they won't sell beer.
I was
going to
say Jamie Pollard will not go for that one, Phillip.
Well, that doesn't. No one has to drink it. It's just there. Like it's okay to use it from an advertising.
Just
standpoint,
reminding
as long
people
as
to
you're not
go out
selling
and
it.
shotgun as many as they can during halftime, and then come back.
Absolutely,
in.
yeah, of course,
unregulated. Well,
okay.
Speaking of beverages, I'll butt in here because I went a little literalist in my head with your prompt that you send us, because you didn't say what would be like color or paint or make our end zone look like. It says, what would you put in your school's end zone? So
I did say that.
The only answer for me is the end zones at McLean Stadium are now officially Dr. Pepper moats, and every time you score a touchdown, you dive into the pool of Dr. Pepper. Imagine a diving touchdown.
So
did he come down with it or not?
Oh.
It's brown liquid. Did he hold on to it?
No, okay, imagine going down and you drop the ball, and then you have to just keep playing and trying. Like, that'd be so devastating. That'd be so gross.
Are we talking like 10-foot deep pool? Or are we talking like kiddie splash pad? Like, is it just spraying? Is it the splash pad where it's just shooting Dr. Pepper out of the ground?
No, it's like I would say 4 foot deep, so you could fall into it and not really get hurt, but you could then stand up and feasibly walk out.
I feel like that is the absolute worst possible depth. Like,
yeah, that is a concussion
depth to
and drowning
and like
Okay,
snap
well,
your
but
neck.
I just want you to imagine how terrible it would be if like your 300-pound defensive lineman got one of those like gimme interceptions and scores a fat guy touchdown. It's 10 feet deep, and then he's got to in full pads try to climb on up out of there.
I like,
but the
Phillip's
cannonball
take
visual
on, like,
would
the
be incredible.
The splash pad type thing, where
Right.
it's like kind of the foamy, and then you have like the little geysers that'll just like.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Could you do that again, Jamie?
kind of squirt out.
I'm gonna clip just kind of squirt out. Maybe that could be part of a new intro for the show moving forward. Okay, I like it, Joe. I like it. I'm shocked. I didn't specify. I was thinking more like a shiplap graphic, but that also works.
Shiplap was there, yes, for sure.
Not graphic, just actual shiplap. It is just they just replaced the turf with
actual shiplap in there.
Okay, Scott, Kansas
I
State.
can install it probably after all the shit I did for my house. I hope drywall.
I'm never going to leave my house because I can't even imagine trying to get it ready to sell. So I'm just going to die in my 2.2%
Do not recommend, especially on like a
mortgage
month's
house.
notice.
All right. First off, again, I did not wade into the waters of K-State KU Twitter when they did the whole weed end zone. I mean that would have worked much better for K-State.
The whole wheat end
Yeah,
zone.
well, here's the thing. Like, I 100% understand why the burners and Gen Z folks who are really fighting those Twitter wars that I used to fight. I understand why they went at it, right? You know, they love to make the ag jokes. They love to, say derogatory things towards K-State fans, calling us hayseeds, all this type of stuff. But K-State's foundation, the K-State Foundation and the Kansas Wheat Association actually have their own strand of wheat that they sell and all that type of stuff. It would have made way more sense for K-State. I don't have anything funny. I took everything literal. I was like, I did not come prepared with anything nearly as good as Joe and Jamie did. But, if you had to go with something, you'd want some sort of limestone pattern for K-State's end zones. Again, they have the limestone wall inside the stadium. You have the castle-looking motif at the stadium. All the buildings except for one on campus are made of limestone. We have literal castles on campus made of limestone. So I think that is what you'd want. You'd want some sort of limestone pattern in K-State's end zone, even though wheat would have worked better for us. But again, I think it's cool. You're not going to find me trashing KU Stadium. I might have, tried to, diminish Lance Leipold 15 minutes ago, but I'm not going to say anything about their stadium. I think when it's done, even if they are using a lot of government funds, I think it's going to look pretty cool. So
you're the biggest Kansas lover out there now. You just said you wanted to rock chalk your end zone.
No. I didn't. First off, no, that is not true. Limestone is not a chalk. It is technically a rock. But it's all throughout the Flint Hills, all throughout K-State's campus, not KU's campus, full of ugly red brick buildings. No, regal limestone in Manhattan. And again, despite me throwing shade, my mother was the baby Jayhawk mascot. My brother got his graduate degree from KU, has been a KU season ticket holder since, Lance Leipold, maybe before Lance Leipold. Who's the guy before Lance Leipold?
Hard to remember when you haven't spoken in 2 decades.
No.
I
talk to him all the time. Again, I like to think of myself, as long as Andy isn't around, and I hope he isn't the final surprise guest, I like to consider myself relatively even keeled when it comes to KU. So,
yeah, that is
absolutely
it is a bit worrying, Scott, that we have no idea who's sitting in the green room right now.
Yeah, and look, if it's Andy, I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to log off, and we're just going to call it a day. I'm just kidding.
You have been sitting here, spouting off guys. It's okay. I've got lots of Jayhawk friends.
Yeah, and again, I'm just trying to say, look, I understand why there's been headbutting.
Just leave it. We're not touching that one.
Oh, okay. Actually. I just now picked it up. I just realized what you said. This is probably a good thing you and I have not been on a podcast together, Joe. We would get in trouble.
Okay, dude.
I'm just going to move on.
This will not be the last time.
And I can use it to teach all my students what not to do.
Exactly. Change the subject. Jamie, has there ever been a player who was drafted in the WNBA but then played college basketball afterwards?
I believe this is the first.
I was pumped when I saw that. Shout out to Jeff Mitty.
Because
Audie Crooks is still going to put 50 on us, but damn it, we're going to win some other games.
Yeah, I had a bunch of people I know looking into it as well, and to my knowledge, it's the first time that someone's been drafted into the WNBA and then signed with a college team, and it's something to do with the eligibility and how they've loosened some of the restrictions for those coming over for college, and so they're probably also going to have to figure out what they need to clarify within draft eligibility or something where currently in America, you have to renounce any remaining eligibility if you're draft eligible, but still have college eligibility. And so they may need to implement something like that internationally, but yeah, hell of a signing. Very cool.
Can you add a little backstory here for those who don't know what you're talking about?
K-State added
K-State
a
signed
context
a WNBA draftee.
Yeah, she's a Belgian Olympian, did really well in the FIBA U20s last year. 6'1". I'm not going to pronounce her name because I'm notorious being bad with pronouncing names, but women's basketball pickup. So, yeah.
Very nice.
It was a third-round draft pick.
If anyone's going to come on and talk about that.
I don't know.
If anyone's going to come on and talk basketball, it's Jamie. Jamie, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. You plugged her hoop stats, which was good. You're going to be at Iowa State. Hey, if I want to take if I want Jamie Steyer Johnson as my college professor, what class am I signing up for?
There's a seat left in my section of JLMC 2010, which is the foundational course for the rest of the journalism school. Technically the rest of the journalism school, which also encompasses the new sports media major, as well as advertising and PR. And so that's my class this semester. Going forward, hopefully I'll be able to get some sections of some of the sports media classes, because Iowa State starting that major is the whole reason I'm back at school getting my master's, so that I am qualified to hopefully continue to teach there after I'm no longer getting my master's and have my master's done. So yeah, should be interesting. I completed my first assignment for my class today, which is to say I wrote the assignment and then did it myself so that I had an example for them, which I kind of didn't think about that being a thing. So everything I assign, I also have to kind of do. So that's awesome.
Jamie, as always, I appreciate you bringing the vibes. It has been a pleasure, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Later, guys.
Oh, look at here! Look who we have. I'm kidding. We have no more special guests, so you guys are good. You're good to go.
What? No, okay. No, he's tricking us. He's tricking us.
No, I'm not. I promise.
By God, is that Andy's music?
Okay, we mentioned this a little bit earlier in the show about Vegas odds, but I did want to talk with you guys and spend a little bit more time on that as one of our final topics. As I mentioned, Utah being one of the teams based off of the different the FanDuel right now. I got my Vegas Insider, which has got a bunch of different ones. This was updated on the 22nd, so it's a few days old, but just so you're aware, FanDuel has like 4 teams at plus 600: Arizona State, Kansas State, Texas Tech, Utah. When the ESPN has Kansas State plus 550, Utah and Arizona State at plus 600, Baylor and Texas Tech at plus 650. BetMGM, Utah plus 550, and then there's Arizona State, Kansas State, Texas Tech, and Baylor at plus 600. I mean, this is the most Big 12 thing. Bet365 has Arizona State and Kansas State at plus 550, Texas Tech and Utah at plus 600, Baylor at plus 650. The next closest of anybody is TCU, which is like plus 800, 850, 900 across the board, and then everybody else is into the.
After Zoomies at the dog park, it's time for Drive Up at Target. In goes a big bag of kibble and 1 squeaky chicken toy for the good boy. Drive Up that's ready when you are, only in the Target app. Just tap Target.
The quadruple digits. I mean, it's very Big 12 to be sitting here saying we've got 4 or 5 teams and they keep seeming to move around, because we've had Kansas State as a favorite, we've had Utah as a favorite, we've had Arizona State as a favorite, and Vegas keeps moving these things around. And it's interesting to me just because like I don't feel like, I'm curious what the information that they've been getting is that keeps causing these things to shift. And it's not massive shifts to go from like plus 550 to plus 600, but the fact that we keep getting shifts between these 4 or 5 teams over and over again means, what is the information that keeps that's coming out? What is causing this? It's very Big 12. Like it's one of the things about this conference that makes it so great. There's 5 teams that people think are the favorite for this conference, and they're all probably wrong just based off of the history of this Big 12 conference since the title came back in 2017. It's going to be one of these teams picked preseason like 7, 8, 9, hell, 16th considering last year. But I'm curious you guys' thoughts on just the where Vegas is. And I'm not asking you like, what is Vegas thinking? I'm not going to sit here and do that. I would have brought on, Tyler Shoemaker or Kelly Ford or Chase Kitty to talk Vegas. But I am just curious your thoughts on kind of where Vegas is leaning at this moment, kind of around these 4 or 5 teams and the I don't know the word I want to say for it, but just the constant movement between them.
Yeah, I can go first. I think some of those make sense, like no matter what lens you want to look through it, right? I think Arizona State makes sense, even though I am a little skeptical of what is Sam Levitt going to look like when there aren't 9 guys in the box, right? But they are returning a lot of players off of that team that went down to the wire with Texas, and they're the defending champions. That makes a lot of sense to me. As a K-State fan, again, it makes a lot of sense to me when you look at some of the advanced metrics there, the number 2, number 3 defense, depending on where you want to look, and a starting quarterback coming back that's dynamic, and he's coming off of his first year starting. So that makes sense that they're in the mix. Texas Tech in Utah, I think you are having to kind of project stuff out a little bit more. And that's what makes it a little hairy. That's what makes it a little bit fun. I thought I was being cool. I thought I was being trendy when in the beginning of June, I predicted every single Big 12 game, and I had K-State and Utah in the championship game. I thought I was being a little edgy saying, ooh, Utah's going to have this big bounce back. But now they seem to be the darling. So I don't know if the odds were reacting to everyone jumping on that, because every national podcast is saying, well, if Utah isn't in Arlington, they're going to be in the mix towards the end. And maybe that's driving folks gambling, and that's what sent them up to the top. And again, I think there's a lot to like with Baylor, especially if they can make it through that early part of the season. So I understand on the field for a couple of these teams, and then kind of the projection for some of them. And I think you said it perfectly, Phillip. This is why the Big 12 is the best conference, the most. Let me rephrase it: the most entertaining conference in all of college football. Because even when you look at the teams at the bottom, I mean, the lowest win total is like what, 4.5 or 5 wins. Again, you don't have anyone who the numbers would say they're going to roll over and go winless. You don't have a Mississippi State, chilling, just giving everyone wins. You don't have, these bottom tier teams that you see at some of the other conferences. The difference between whoever wins
all the other conferences, all the other conferences,
yes, all the other conferences,
somebody
and
I don't absolute doormat, not going to beat anybody.
Yeah, and again, granted, that was Oklahoma State last year, but Gundy, Gundy's a Hall of Fame coach. So again, like maybe they suck again this year, but when you're trying to count on a Hall of Fame coach who's only had one truly god-awful season ever to maybe be that program. I mean, hell, you look at what Cincinnati's bringing back, and they have a dead as a doornail coach. I mean, he might be fired by Halloween. But when you look at the talent on that roster, it wouldn't surprise me if you told me that they went 7-5 and then they win and win the Liberty Bowl. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. So I think what Vegas is telling us is, hey, yeah, there's some teams that we think are going to be good, but this is going to be the most entertaining conference in all of college football to watch. And if you disagree, you're a partisan ball watcher, and you have an agenda, because every game, week in, week out, the Big 12 is the most fun conference there is.
Yeah, I agree. Basically everything you have to say. Like Arizona State, you return your starting quarterback, you return your coach, you're bringing back most of your best playmakers. You're losing the heart and soul, I think, probably of your team, but you're going to be a favorite if you've won it last year, and you're bringing back the most important position in the sport as well. Utah, I kind of like, I agree with you. Like a few months ago, I was even thinking like, hey, that might be the pick, because their defense is still really that good. They just got let down by injuries on the offensive side of the ball last year, where they spent the entire year with their defense out on the field. They were so gassed and so banged up. And Utah is kind of like, it's like Ted Williams hitting. If you bet on him to get a hit and he doesn't, it's a really, really good bet to bet on him the next at bat, because he's probably going to get a hit the next time he's up. I think one of the big shockers for me was, Phillip, you talked about how you get down to like Baylor and they're in that plus 600, 700 range. And then right underneath them, that's when the bottom starts to fall out a little bit with TCU and those 800s to even 1,200. I think FanDuel has them. Iowa State is the first where that line of demarcation hits, where they're just over 1,000 on every single site. And then you start looking below that, and pretty much everybody is 1,000 plus under Iowa State. I know that they lost Noel. I know that they lost Higgins, but Campbell can coach. Heacock can coach. That offense has kind of figured some things out over the last couple of years. They don't look like what they used to look like 3-4 years ago when it was like, what are they doing out here? And I think Rocco Becht is a really, really good quarterback. And I will harp again on, it's the most important position in the sport, more so even than in the NFL. Like, if you have a really, really elite quarterback in college football, plus a really good defense, you can do some damage. So that was like the one thing that kind of stuck out there with me. I kind of would have expected Iowa State to maybe be more up there in that crowd with the Utah, Baylor, TCUs of the world, Texas Tech. But I agree. Like, if you said, hey, you just need to put betting odds down, who are the two teams that you pick up at the top? It's Arizona State and Kansas State. Like, Kleiman is an excellent coach. Avery Johnson is a very, very good quarterback. And similar to how I feel about Matt Campbell and Iowa State, even when Kansas State has a bad year, since Bill Snyder was there, with the exception of those kind of years in the middle where he retired and came back. But like Kansas State is just always good. Nobody ever wants to play Kansas State. There's never a day where you say, yay, I'm really excited to go play the Wildcats today, whether it's at home or on the road. And so like, I'm totally fine having Arizona State and Kansas State up there. I feel like you have to have Texas Tech just because the talent is undeniable. The question is now, can you make those pieces fit? I already talked about Utah. Baylor, I'll try not to be a homer, but man, they closed out the season so strong last year that you cannot deny it. They bring back their top receiver, their top quarterback, their top running back, but actually the top 2 running backs. The question is going to be, how's the defense look? And do they have a secondary whatsoever? Because the defense could totally derail that thing. And then again, TCU, don't tell anybody. Don't repeat this. Don't publish this. I know this is just a private podcast that we don't plan on publishing ever. I think TCU is going to be really, really good. I think they've got a hell of a quarterback. I think they're going to have a hell of an offense, and watch out. Like I think TCU's a dangerous dark horse that's in here, but I won't talk about what my championship game picks are quite yet. But no, it's 100% what makes this conference so fun. And I have a coworker that I'm very, very close with that's a Texas Longhorn, and we talk college football all the time. And this is probably, people are going to think I'm making this up. This is a legitimate conversation I had last week where he was like, I didn't watch enough of the Big 12 last year. I've been reading up on stuff, and it seems like it's going to be wild again. I'm excited to watch the Big 12. You know, like he's now like stepped out of it. He doesn't have to worry about rivalries or anything like that. And he's kind of just like keying in on, like I'll go watch these powerhouse games between the powerhouse teams that I care about. But I know in reality in the SEC, there's 4 teams that matter every single year. The Big 12 is what I'm going to watch when everything else is on. When I'm not watching Texas play whoever they're playing that week, I would prefer to watch any Big 12 game over, like you guys said, like who wants to watch Mississippi State play Kentucky? Who wants to watch South Carolina versus Mizzou? I would 100
sure
times
South
out of 100
Carolina,
be
Missouri
like,
fans want to watch that.
They play for a rivalry
exactly.
trophy, so they play for the City Columbia Cup thing. So,
and of course, we have to always recognize the long history rivalry of South Carolina versus Texas A&M.
Is that one of the ones that A&M's played once since they left?
No, that's the one that that was the like forced one every year. So like,
woof.
They tried to make it a rivalry.
This makes the most sense. Yeah, that makes most sense. Look, we'll do a pod later on as we get close to the season. Last year was the year of the running back. This year's the year of the quarterback in the Big 12, like with the names that are coming back and the guys we expect to take a step forward. Like the Big 12, I think in football overall is going to be better this year than it was last year. And it was pretty fun last year. Wasn't the best. Like it wasn't the best conference last year. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was, but it was fun. It's going to be more fun this year because you got great quarterback play. It's going to be really exciting. You said title game predictions. I want to make sure I clarify what we're going to do to wrap this show up. I said I want you to tell me your most, in quotes, Big 12 title game. Now, I'm going to set this up this way. We've talked about this on the show, but every podcast is someone's first. So I'm going to reiterate this. Since the Big 12 title game came back in 2017, here are the preseason Big 12 poll rankings of the Big 12 title game participants, excluding Oklahoma in 17, 18, 19, because they were always picked number 1 and they always made it. I'm not going to tell you the teams. I'm just going to tell you the numbers, okay? 5th, 4th, 6th, 4th, 4th, 8th, 5th, 7th, 1st, 7th, 6th, 16th. You hear a lot of 2s in there? Second? No. A lot of 3rds in there? No. A lot of 4ths and 5ths and 7ths.
Well, good thing there is no preseason media poll, so it doesn't even matter anymore, Phillip.
Yeah.
Well, and that's fine. Yes, and I think it was dumb.
I think that was stupid, by the way. Stupid.
I think it was dumb. It's for fun, but everyone's going to do their own preseason poll. But the general take here is, good luck actually figuring out who's going to get there, because this is a league based off developmental cycles, and you just never know who's going to be on the uptick and is going to have guys you didn't see coming. Cam Scatabo last year that are going to lead a team to Arlington. And so I say that is the lens I want you to make this prediction through as we close the show here. Is I know what we just talked about with Vegas and the teams that it's like, these should be the favorites. These 4 to 5 teams should be the teams that if you think is going to make the Big 12 title game, this is where that group's coming from. But just like preseason polls, we know in the Big 12, that's not true. So what is to wrap this show up, what is your most, air quotes, Big 12 championship game matchup for this year? Joe.
All right. I've been planting the seeds of my prediction in this one. I've talked about both my teams a couple of times. The rule is you're going to have one team that people projected to be pretty damn good. Not necessarily the first or second one, but pretty damn good. And who have we talked about multiple times that's sitting basically at number 4 on this list? Number 3, number 4, Utah. They've got tons of talent, and they're not picked to be number 1 or number 2, but they're going to be really, really darn good. They're going to have a flashy offense. They're going to have a quarterback that can do some things, and that defense is going to make it easy for that offense. They're going to give them lots of opportunities to go score points. So I'm picking Utah. And then I planted the seed on this one earlier. There's a coach in the Big 12 who is known for a very long time for being one of the best coaches in the country. All right. And he had a terrible year last year. And what's better than a team that's projected around plus 6,600 to win the conference, which is second to bottom. I'm going to make Phillip happy. We got Utah versus Oklahoma State in Arlington.
That would be a disgusting uniform game, by the way. Oklahoma State would have to go black.
Color rush it.
No.
Oh, yes, please. Color rush.
Red versus
Utah
orange.
white. Utah white.
No.
Utah all white. Oklahoma State black and orange.
No,
So
that
there
would
you
be
go.
gross. That would be one of the worst possible uniform matchups. Ugh.
It would be a very Big 12. That's a very good pick there. Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, so kind of similar type thing. My first one, it would be the team who would be designated as the home team. It's a team upper middle class when you look at some of the betting odds. And it wouldn't be necessarily a shock, but you look at their schedule and you're like, oh, that's a tough one to navigate. That's TCU. Look, they're at Arizona State. They're at K-State. At BYU and Houston back-to-back again. Lots of problems with those teams, but, they're feisty enough. They have Iowa State at home. They have to do a trip out to West Virginia. And, of course, the rivalry game at home versus Baylor. When you read through that, when you look at the Big 12 schedule, TCU seemingly has one of the tougher ones. But what did we learn last year? If you think you're about to have a tough schedule, when it's all said and done, you look at the standings at the end of the year, ended up being pretty easy. So TCU gets in there, and then a team that maybe is a year earlier than we think, Houston. Again, Willie Fritz, I think, is a good coach. I made the mistake when K-State was about to play Tulane back in 2022. K-State fans were saying, Willie Fritz, oh, he's so good. And I said, well, he has a losing record in the American at Tulane. And what happens? They beat K-State. What happens last year? hapless Houston team. K-State goes on the road. Rainy game, beats K-State. So I am going to talk about my Kansas native friend. He literally grew up a block away from where my house is. He got his coaching career started at Shawnee Mission Northwest High School, which is where my house is zoned. I don't have kids, so it doesn't matter. But Willie Fritz, a year early, everyone's saying, hey, maybe they're a bowl team, but maybe the next year, maybe the year after that, they could make some noise. A year early, Houston. So I think the most Big 12 championship game would be TCU versus Houston.
I love that. Two teams from Texas. I'm gonna start by saying I think I've come around on my actual Big 12 title game prediction, and I'll give my air quotes most Big 12, but my actual one. It's a small sample size, but so far we've done a pretty good job in the last 2 years. The last 2 years so far, we've avoided rematches. And I think because of all the tiebreakers that go into the Big 12 title game with 16 teams, we're probably going to continue for the most part to avoid rematches. They seem unlikely just because of all the tiebreakers. So I go looking for things where I say, who are two teams that aren't going to face off in the regular season? Last year we got Arizona State, Iowa State, who had never played each other before in a football game ever. So I had to remove them from this year's first time ever list. The year before that, Texas got to go on its revenge tour And, of course, got the one team that wasn't on its schedule that needed to have revenge against in Oklahoma State, beat them there. So then I started going, the fact that we have certain rivalry games that haven't been defended in this conference because of, blah, 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 blah. Two teams that, two teams that are a little bit higher in the, but not 1 and 2. If you want my real prediction for who I think is going to be in Arlington in December, we're going to get the butt bowl for the Big 12 title.
Woo! I knew it. I was so disappointed we didn't have a butt bowl this year. That's how we're going to get it, baby. Let's do it.
I was like, this is it. We're going to have a Big 12 title butt bowl.
Let's have this go 2 hours and let me do a deep dive on why Brett Yormark can't do any scheduling and why the Big 12 doesn't know how to do anything when it comes to protecting rivalries. You got another 45 minutes, boys?
By giving you Farmageddon.
All right. So as far as my air quotes, because I'm gonna, I pitched the question. I'll do it. The most Big 12 title game. I agree. You want a team that's picked in that 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th range. I am high on Baylor this year. I really do like what we saw for them the year. Yes, that secondary could be absolutely killer for them. But I'm going to say Baylor really does bounce back this year. I'm going to take Baylor because I just get the vibes there's going to be a team from the state of Texas in the game in Arlington this year. And then I thought, what would be the most how has this happened team for them to face?
Please go where I hope you're going with this.
I don't know. But I said, you know who I think Baylor might have to face in the Big 12 title game? The Cincinnati Bearcats. That's right.
Okay. Somewhere different.
Cincinnati and Cincinnati and Baylor. Because, of course, Cincinnati, with a head coach who probably shouldn't be the head coach, with a roster that, if they had a good coaching staff, would, I think, be a contender for the Big 12 title game. Alas, Cincinnati has their coaching staff. But it would be the most Cincinnati thing for them to make it to Arlington on a 9-3 season due to tiebreakers going their way and having to keep him around and get a contract extension only for them to go back to being 6-5 and 5-7 for the next 4 years afterwards. The most Big 12 title game I could come up with was Baylor versus Cincinnati. Wait, who did you think I was going to say, Joe?
Well, if you got Baylor versus West Virginia rides like a super magic Rich Rod returns
that's not even
magic year.
I mean, we'll talk about turning rosters.
But then you get Dave versus Rich.
Also, I want to do a preemptive take for this football season because, and this is not anything about Pat McAfee. I said one critical thing of Pat McAfee last year while he was in Ireland, and that tweet blew up. It got aggregated. It was the biggest tweet I've ever had in my life. So I don't want any of the Pat McAfee boys to come after me. But my preemptive Big 12 take are Big 12 fans are going to get tired of all the West Virginia and Pat McAfee talk because they aren't even going to go to a bowl, but because of him on game day and his own show on ESPN, they're going to be talked about more than any other Big 12 team not named Texas Tech. So that's my preemptive take for the year.
My preemptive take is this: if the three of us are right on Utah, get ready for Utah fans' favorite line to be "never wrong, just a year early." All right, this has been an absolute joy. Thank you so much, Joe and Scott, for joining me here for episode 600 of the show. You've been fantastic co-hosts today. I want to let you both plug, as parts of the 1012 network, of course, plug your shows, plug what's coming, what's not coming, when you might get behind the mic again. This is not a level of criticism. I haven't recorded an episode since late May. But Joe, hit it, man.
You check us out. We're the Bear Den Pod. You can find us even. We have our own site, thebeardenpod.com. We should be back, I think, in a week or two. I think it's 2 weeks where we're going to be back we'll do a Big 12 preview, kind of what we think the conference standings will shake out like, talk a little bit about Baylor and what's going on there. And what you can always expect from us is at least a little bit of nerd talk. So we've both seen Superman multiple times, so you can expect us to probably break that down. So Superman and Baylor in our first episode. Matt almost
no Fantastic
wanted to come
Four,
back and-
Superman, no Fantastic Four, just Superman.
I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. We'll see. I have you know how this goes.
You got
being
2
a parent.
weeks. You got 2 weeks. Yeah. You know the last time I went to a movie theater? I don't.
I have a niece that has gotten to like babysitting age, and she started asking, so that's why we got to go see Superman.
Bravo, Scott.
Yeah, Boscoe's Boys podcast. I'm addicted to talking into a microphone. So July, as we're wrapping it up, is month 2 of 5 episodes a week. Monday, so Blitz month, where I'm just talking with all my friends, getting ready for K-State. That started last week. We finished Behind Enemy Lines. So if you want to hear a breakdown of any of the 12 teams on K-State's schedule, you can go find those back starting in June. July, it's Blitz month. The plan right now, and it's on the schedule, and he's never canceled on me, so I'm okay plugging this. Wednesday, you guys should be hearing my 10th conversation over the life of this podcast with K-State Athletics Director Gene Taylor. I will be asking him about Memphis and some other stuff with the Big 12 as a whole before we start talking about some K-State stuff. So that should be coming out on Wednesday, as long as Kenny Lanou doesn't cancel on me, but he never has before, so I feel okay trying to plug that. But Phillip, I'm just very honored and happy to be part of the 600th episode. I'm honored to be part of the 1012 network. And look, it's if you can't have fun talking about, your favorite college sporting, team, your favorite athletic department, that's not a world I want to live in. So I want to thank you for helping me connect with all these fellow podcasters and being, the best, head honcho of a network and the flagship show of the network, the 1012 pod. So congratulations to you on 600.
We love you, Pod Daddy.
3 kids is enough. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that, Scott. I really do. I think that I have been blessed to be able to put together an incredible collection of people that are just so much fun to talk with and spend time with and get to know and listen to when they hop behind the mic. And so, look, I will keep doing this for as long as people want to listen to it, or at least for as long as I have a voice or the actual capacity. We'll see how often it continues to be. I don't know. Well, we're gonna get there, but I don't think I can't quit. Why can't I quit you? Is a meme that I think I might be using about my own show on a semi regular basis moving forward. But shout out to Jamie Sire Johnson. Shout out to Sam Conn Jr. Shout out to all of our guests today. Jamie Plunkett, thank you so much for joining us. I would say we'll be back. I'll leave it at that. This is like the end of movies where it's like James Bond will return. The 1012 will return. I don't have a title for the next follow-up, nor do I have a date, but this one's going to drop, and then the season will be here soon, and I can't wait. It's going to be fun. Y'all, enjoy your week.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.